Good morning, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome back to Crossover Ministry, and today we are going to be studying the word redemption or redeemer. Redemption is geula in Hebrew, and gaal is the word for redeemer. Okay, so there are going to be several scriptures that we're going to be reading today regarding this term, redemption or redeemer, and we'll start with Leviticus 25. Verse 23. So it says, the land really belongs to me. And this is God speaking. So you cannot sell it permanently. You are only foreigners and travelers living on my land with me. People might sell their land, but the family will always get their land back. Now, there's another translation. It says, and provide for a redemption for the land in all the land of your possession. So to buy back, that's the word possession. Because the word gaal, it means in its primitive root, it means to redeem, and according to the Oriental law of kinship, this is to buy back a relative's property, marry his widow, etc. So the way it is used in the Bible, the word gaal is avenger, deliver, kinsfolk, purchase, ransom, redeem, or revenger. So that is what we're talking about here. Okay, go back to Leviticus 25, verse 25. If someone in your country becomes very poor and must sell their property, a close relative must come and buy it back, redeem it. Right? And then 26, if there is not a close relative to buy back the land, the person who sold the land might get enough money to buy it back. So he has that right. Maybe a foreigner or visitor among you becomes rich, or maybe someone from your own country becomes so poor that they sell themselves as slaves to a foreigner living among you or to a member of a foreigner's family. These people have the right to be bought back. That's the word geula. And become free. Someone from their own country can buy them back, usually their close relative. Okay, or what you call the kinsman redeemer. And the most famous person that we know in the Bible is Boaz. Okay, so verse 49, or their uncle can buy them back, or their cousin or one of their close relatives from their family can buy him back. The word is yig aleno. Or if they get enough money, they can pay the money themselves and become free again. The word is vinigal. So they all come from the word gaal. See, the word gaal is the Hebrew word for redeemer. Okay, so the word geula or redemption, this is a passive participle. Okay, this is the word, including the right and the object, by implication, relationship. Okay, so kindred, redeem, redemption, or the right to buy back. Okay, another scripture, this is the confession and restitution, which we call the Asham offering. Okay, this is in Numbers 5:5. And Yahweh said to Moshe, tell this to the Israelites, you might do something wrong to another person. When you do that, you are really sinning against Elohim. So you are guilty of doing wrong. So what the Bible is saying, if you commit something against your brother, you are actually committing sin against God. Okay, so you must confess that sin. Then you must fully pay for that wrong thing you did. You must add 1/5 to the payment and give it to the person you had wrong to. But maybe the person is dead and does not have any close relatives to accept the payment. In that case, you will give the payment to Yahweh. That is, you will give the full payment to the priest. The priest must sacrifice the ram that makes people pure. This ram will be sacrificed to cover over your sins, but the priest will keep the rest of the payment. If any of you Israelites gives a special gift to Elohim, the priest who accepts that gift can keep it. It is his. You don't have to give this special gifts, but if you do, the gifts belong to the priest. So that is restitution or redemption. Okay, and this is what we give. It's the restitution. We pay back what we owe people and what we owe God. Okay, and then there's another one, and this is regarding the cities of refuge, and this is found in Deuteronomy 19 verse 1. So it goes like this. Yahweh your Elohim is giving you land that belongs to other nations. The Lord your Elohim will destroy those nations. You will live where these people lived. You will take their cities and their houses. When that happens, you must divide the land that Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. Divide it into 3 parts and choose a city in the middle of each part that can be a place of safety. You must also build good roads to these cities. Then whoever kills another person may run to the closest city of safety. This is the rule for someone who kills another person and runs to one of these 3 cities for safety. It must be someone who killed another person accidentally, not out of hatred. So it is not one that you premeditate. Here is an example. A man goes into the forest with another person to cut wood. The man swings his axe to cut down a tree, but the head of the axe separates from the handle. The axe head hits the other person and kills him. The man who swung the axe may then run to one of these 3 cities and be safe. But if the city is too far away, he might not be able to run there fast enough. A close relative of the person he killed might run after him and catch him before he reaches the city. The relative might kill the man in anger, even though he did not deserve to die because he did not mean to harm anyone. That is why I commanded you to choose 3 special cities. Yahweh your Elohim promised your fathers that he would make your land larger. He will give you all the land that he promised to give to your ancestors. He will do this if you completely obey his commands that I give you today. If you love Yahweh your Elohim and always live the way he wants. Then, when he gives you more land, you should choose 3 more cities for safety. They should be added to the first 3 cities. Then innocent people will not be killed in the land that the Lord your Elohim is giving you, and you will not be guilty for any such debts. But suppose there is a man who hates his neighbor. That man might hide and wait to kill the person he hates. If he kills that person and runs to one of these cities of safety, the elders in his hometown must send someone to get him and take him away from the city of safety. These leaders must hand him over to the close relative. He is a murderer and he must die. Don't feel sorry for him. He is guilty of killing an innocent person, and you must remove that guilt from Israel. Then everything will go well for you. So what we read is God told Moshe to have the children of Israel allot cities which are in the middle of their portion of the land, and they will be called cities of refuge. So whoever kills accidentally another person, they can come and seek refuge in that place. But if it's premeditated, then that person can be taken by, or the elders of that city can allow the relative of the other person who died to take him, and then he will be judged to death. Okay, and so then another story is the famous one, the story of Ruth. Ruth 3:8. And it came to be at midnight that the man was startled, and that's Boaz, and turned himself and saw a woman lying at his feet. That's Ruth. And he said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your female servant. Now you shall spread your covering over your female servant, for you are a Gaal, you are a redeemer." And Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. And he went into her, and Yahweh granted her conception, and she bore a son. And the women said to Naomi, "Blessed be Yahweh, who has not left you this day without a Gaal, without a redeemer. And let his name be proclaimed in Israel. And he shall be to you a restorer of life and a sustainer of your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons, has borne him." And so from all the scriptures that we have read, we see a person, we see a relative, or even that the person himself can redeem, can buy back, can purchase, can ransom whatever is lost, whether it's land or a person who is sold to slavery. So, and then in the case of Ruth, this is remarrying or marrying Ruth. Boaz, he married Ruth to redeem her, right? So that they will survive in a way. Now, Another word that is associated, and I've mentioned it when we talked about the words that are associated to the word Gaal or Redeemer, is the word Avenger. So I don't know if you have watched Avenger, very, very famous movie, right? And you have Iron Man or Captain America or whoever is your favorite Avenger. Well, the most famous and the very ultimate avenger that we have is actually Yahushua. He is our avenger. He is our kinsman redeemer. He is our redeemer, right? So where did this all come from? It all started in Exodus 6. Okay, let's look at Exodus 6. And Elohim spoke to Moshe and said to him, I am Yahweh. And I appeared to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Jacob as El Shaddai, and by my name Yahweh was I not known to them. And I also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their sojournings, in which they have sojourned. Now this is the time of Abraham. What we have read during the time of Moshe, right? So it all started during the time of Abraham. Okay, so then continue. Verse 5. And I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, and whom the Mitzrites or the Egyptians are enslaving. And I have remembered my covenant. Say therefore to the children of Israel, I am Yahweh, and I shall bring you out from under the burdens of the Mitzrites or the Egyptians, and shall deliver you from their enslaving, and shall redeem, vigalti. I shall redeem, okay, shall redeem you with an outstretched arm and great judgments, and shall take you as my people, and I shall be your Elohim, and I shall know that I am, and you shall know that I am Yahweh your Elohim, who is bringing you out from under the burdens of the Mitzrites. And I shall bring you into the land which I swore to give to Abraham, to Yitzhak, to Jacob, to give it to you as an inheritance. I am Yahweh. So the land was actually promised to Abraham, and even before Abraham got into the land, right? So we know that this promise is intact. It's solid, right? And in Exodus here, Yahweh is going back, reminding them of what he promised Abraham, that he is going to, because even before this enslaving happened in Egypt, it was already prophesied to Abraham what's going to happen, that they're going to be in a place where, you know, they don't really belong there, and they will be mistreated by these people. Okay, but Yah is going to buy them back. He's going to ransom them, and by the death of, okay, the firstborn. So the blood of the firstborn. Now, the prophet Isaiah says this about redemption. Shake yourself from the dust. Arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose yourself from the bonds of your neck, O captive daughter of Zion. For thus said Yahweh, you have been sold for naught, and you are redeemed, Tigaelu, not with silver. For thus said the Master Yahweh, at first my people went down into Mitzrayim to sojourn there, and Ashur oppressed them without cause. And now, what have I here, declares Yahweh, that my people are taken away for naught. Those who rule over them make them wail, declares Yahweh, and my name is despised all day continually. Therefore, my people shall know my name in that day, for I am the one who is speaking. See, it is I. So you see how in Exodus, during the time of Moshe, he is going to let the people, Israelites and the Egyptians alike, who he is, because he is going to purchase his people back. And then in Isaiah, this is the time when Isaiah is talking about the capture of Israel by the Assyrians. They were oppressed by the Assyrians. They were dispersed by the Assyrians. And then they will be taken by Babylon. Judah will be taken by Babylon. But one day, the prophecy is that God is going to come again, and he is going to rescue the way he rescued his people way back in the time of Egypt, when they were enslaved in Egypt. Then the psalmist said in Psalm 78, because of his great mercy, because of his kindness, God is always going back and always buying them back, right? Redeeming them, saving them. Psalm 78:35. And they remembered that Elohim was their rock, the Most High El, their Goalam, their Redeemer. But they flattered him with their mouth, and they lied to him with their tongue. For their heart was not steadfast with him, and they were not true to his covenant. But he, the compassionate one, pardoned crookedness, and did not destroy them. And many a time he turned his displeasure away, and did not stir up all his wrath. For he remembered that they were but flesh, a passing breath that does not return. How often they rebelled against him in the wilderness, and grieved him in the desert. And again they tried El, and provoked the set apart one of Israel. They did not remember his hand, the day when he redeemed them from the adversary. Now, if you go back to verse 35, it says they remembered that Elohim was their rock. They did remember him, who he is. But in Psalm 78:42, they said they did not remember his hand. They do, okay, he's Yahweh, he's our God, he's the God of Israel, but they did not remember what he did, literally. Okay, they did not remember his hands. Right? What he did for them, how he saved them. Right? But those who remembered in Lamentation 3:55, this is the time of Jeremiah. Okay? And Jeremiah is during the time of the Babylonian captivity. He said this, I called on your name, O Yahweh, from the lowest pit. You have heard my voice. Do not hide your ear from my groaning, from my outcry. You drew near on the day I called on you. You said, do not fear. O Yahweh, you did plead the case for my being. You have redeemed, Ga'alta, my life. You have saved me. See, he remembered who Yahweh is and what Yah is able to do. But then who is our ultimate redeemer? All the prophets, all the prophecies in the Tanakh, they're always pointing to this one ultimate redeemer. Isaiah 49:7 says this, and thus said Yahweh, the redeemer, the Gaal of Israel, the set apart one, to the despised, to the loathed one of the nation, to the servant of rulers. Sovereigns shall see and arise. Rulers also shall bow themselves, because of Yahweh who is steadfast, the set apart one of Israel, and he has chosen you. And this is that promised one, the despised one, the loathed one of the nations, the servant of all rulers. Then Isaiah 63:7 says, let me recount the loving commitments of Yahweh and the praises of Yahweh according to all that Yahweh has done for us, and the great goodness toward the house of Israel, which he has done for them according to his compassion and according to his many loving commitments. And he said, they are my people, children who do not act falsely, and he became their savior. In all their distress he was distressed, and the messenger of his presence saved them. In his love, in his compassion, he ga'alam. He redeemed them, and he lifted them up and carried them all the days of old. And then Luke in the Brit Hadashah will talk about Elohim like this. Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Israel, for he did look upon and work redemption for his people. This is during the time of Yahusha. Now, in the end of the book, in Revelation 14:3, it says, and they sang a renewed song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders, and no one was able to learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. And I believe the 144, they are a symbol of the redeemed of the earth, the redeemed of the Lamb. And they are those who were not defiled with women, for they are maidens. They are those following the Lamb wherever he leads them on. They were redeemed from among men, being first fruits to Elohim and to the Lamb. Okay, now we see how this redemption thing works, right? So there is a person, the person himself can be a Gaal, or the relative of that person can be a Gaal. If that person cannot redeem himself, cannot buy himself back, cannot ransom himself, cannot produce the money to buy himself back, then if a close relative is able to do that for him, that person can be his Gaal, his kinsman redeemer, right? And we see how the properties, life can be brought back, and they are taken back, right? So the house it goes back to the owner, the original owner, the person goes home, right? But what if, because all that picture is all beautiful and positive, because it's all about restoration, right? But what if the word Gaal, because the word Gaal has two meanings. Okay, so we know the first meaning is to buy back, to marry, to avenge, to purchase, to ransom, all that words associated to it. But there is another Gaal that means this. Okay, a primitive root, rather identical with 1350. 1350 is Gaal, which is the Redeemer. But what if through the idea of freeing, okay, through the idea of freeing, the word becomes or is associated to repudiation or divorce. See, when you are divorced, you are free. But is that positive? Is that good? Right? Compared to that restoration, you were divorced and now you are being restored. But this one, you are being freed so that you will separate. So the word, that word Gaal, it is pronounced the same. It has the same letters, right? But in Ezra 2:62, it says this: these sought their register, and these are the priests that came back from captivity from Babylon. Okay, among those who were counted by genealogy, but they were not found, so they were barred. They were prohibited from the priesthood as defiled. Another one, Isaiah 59:3, for your hands have been defiled. Now remember about the 144,000 where they followed the Lamb and they were virgins, right? And they are not defiled. So this one, your hands have been defiled with blood, and your fingers with crookedness. Your lips have spoken falsehood. Your tongue mutters unrighteousness. And in Nehemiah 13:29, it says, remember them, O my Elohim, because they have defiled the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood and of the Levites. So the way you pronounce the other Gaal is actually Goel, right? That is the word profanation or defile. Now in the story of Ruth, we actually see this on two people. Right? The first one is Boaz, and the other one is the other closer relative to Naomi. Ruth 4:6 says, and the Redeemer said, I am not able to redeem it for myself, lest I ruin my own inheritance. Redeem my right of redemption for yourself, for I am not able to redeem it. And this was formerly done in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging. To confirm every word, one man took off his sandal and gave it to the other, and this was a witness in Israel. So the Redeemer said to Boaz, buy it for yourself. So in the redemption of Ruth, Boaz told her, there is a closer relative to you. So tomorrow I'm going to go to the elders and I'm going to handle this, right? So he presented the situation to the other guy, and the other guy, because he said, I have family, I have my own children, and I cannot risk that, whatever he needs to do with his family, I cannot take that responsibility. So what he did, he relinquished that responsibility to Boaz by giving him his sandal. Okay, so that became a witness in Israel. So to prove that he is relinquishing that authority, that responsibility. And so from here, he was not defiled, but in a way, he separated himself from the responsibility of becoming a redeemer. So in the story of Ruth, we see Boaz and the other guy. So the other guy is, for me, is a Goel, right? And the other one is a Gaal. He became the redeemer, but the other one, he doesn't want it. So in our case, how is it applicable to us? Okay, are we going to be a Goel, one that separates, one that repudiates, or are we going to be a Gaal, one that restores, one that buys back, one that redeems? We have an example in Yahushua. He is our Gaal. He is our ultimate redeemer. And what he has in his heart is to restore us back every time. Right? Every time we fall, every time we sin, he is our kinsman redeemer. He is our Gaal. And he is expecting us as priests of his kingdom to become a Gaal so that people can come to us for safety and for restoration. Not a Goel, not a person that separates, not not a person that relinquishes responsibility. Oh, it's too hard. I cannot do this. It's too difficult. I cannot accomplish that. Okay, you do it, right? But let us be a Gaal, a restorer. We purchase, an avenger. If we see someone who is not able to defend themselves, we stand in the gap for them. Amen. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and next week come back again and we're going to have another lesson. I hope that will encourage you more. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Bye.